Lucas, Colin, and I were able to get it running for one person using Polygon, and now we're basically putting together a strategy to do all of the signatures and put it all together for the rest of the 20 contributors. I think it's something like 180 or almost 200 signatures that will be needed. So yeah, we put together a little plan, and we're going to be grinding through the rest of those tomorrow. So I just wanted to let you guys know that it's still being worked on and will be on its way this week. So yeah. Lucas or Colin, I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to add.
No, yeah, I'm just gonna be working tomorrow, getting those wallets created.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, that's a short update. And I'll pass it over to Colin to discuss the Mundo Webmaster proposal.
All right, I'll pull up my screen here. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So I had this idea for a Moondao webmaster. Basically just maintaining the websites, Discord bots, and the team of developers, just the code they submit and the the code being created in projects. Yeah, right now we don't really have anybody who's responsible for maintaining the projects on GitHub or Netlify. I know in the executive proposal, there's a few things outlined like passwords and that sort of thing. But yeah, nobody's really like reviewing what's actually being written. The doc site has to be updated. Mitchie's been doing that recently. So yeah, he's been helping out with that. But I still have to like review the pull request and merge it. I'm sure eventually we can have other people doing that too. README files need to be updated just as projects evolve. We need to make sure that the guides are being updated as well, so everybody knows how to contribute to that project. Yeah, so I have pull requests on here. I think that unit tests should be created for each project that's on GitHub. So just like even if it's just like a simple end-to-end test, just making sure that the website runs at least, or yeah, like the Discord bot does what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I've started creating this for the Moondao app. Right now we have an end-to-end test and an integration test, which is nice because we can verify that certain components do what they're supposed to do. Yeah, specifications, just getting into detail. I took the outreach out. LucasArt made a good point that Rocketeers of project should be responsible for this. So yeah. Yeah, also be making sure that the GitHub workflows are created, which is nice because every time somebody pulls or pushes or creates a pull request to the main branch, we can make sure that that code is tested. Yeah, benefits ongoing support for websites, making sure documentation README files are good, minor updates and bug fixes. So sometimes things just go wrong, or one of our, like recently, the announcements, the way we're fetching announcements from the Discord, something happened with the server, so I'm working with Pablo to fix that. And yeah, sometimes things just need to be updated, or maintained. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything on here. a lot of this is pretty repetitive. I was just trying to follow the template. Yeah, I'll take this outreach out of there. I do think there is kind of an area where somebody should be, or we all should be just focused on making sure that dev projects are promoted on like social media and trying to just find new developers and let them know what's going on, what we're working on. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I am asking for an MVP. I think 3,000 a month is fair for 20 to 30 hours a week. Some weeks, yeah, it's not as many hours, but then other weeks that a lot of things go wrong, or there's just things that need to be changed, and sometimes it can actually be quite a few hours. I do have some tasks I've already done since the end of the last stewardship proposal, which is what I was kind of doing these tasks under. So yeah, I'm doing this. Yep, that's about it. Sweet. I see we got 3 signers. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Yeah, does anybody have any questions? I've tried to go through here and answer all these comments. Like Ryan, you asked why I put this here. I think this is pretty controversial. I just took the idea from the stewardship proposal, and most of this stuff has to get done one way or the other. Like, we can't really not have somebody doing some of these tasks. Like, I think the GitHub is pretty important, and Netlify is pretty important to maintain. Yeah, I guess I'd like to hear some more opinions about having the MVP not subtracted from the quarterly reward distribution.
I mean, personally, I think it's justified in cases where there's ongoing maintenance like this, where it's a core operations that are, not just going to stop at any time. I mean, that's part of the reason why it was designed that way in the executive branch. So I see no problem with it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, it's thanks.
Yeah, I see the reasoning behind it, but I really think that this non-reductible MVP thing should remain as an exception of the executive branch. And if there are, things that need to be taken care to, keep Moondao running, then those things should be included on that executive budget, or took from the flex budget there, instead of issuing another project with a non-deductible MVP. I don't know. That's just the way I see it. I think that we should stick to the system, to prevent future abuse. I know that you, Kovinar, is a great guy, but this kind of sets a precedent.
Definitely, yeah.
So we need to be careful.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of how that would look then, because some of this I think is kind of it has to do with operations, but then I guess like the testing is a little extra. Like, that's more me being like, it should be tested. Yeah, I'm fine with removing it, and then maybe coming back to it next time. This proposal, I have it going for 6 months, so then maybe January 1st, I could kind of see how this worked, and yeah. Because you have a good point. You know, we don't want just this being a new. I guess it's not really outlined in the project guidelines. So
I think though that like the precedent that's been set. I mean, the precedent isn't being set with this. It was set with the executive branch proposal. And I think the precedent is really that projects that are central and ongoing are handled that way with the non-subtracted MVP. So I do see like Lucas, I do see the concern that this becomes like a trend where everyone's now making their project not subtractable. But I mean, this is a case where I think it's appropriate. This is like the case where it makes sense. In most cases, though, it doesn't. Like it's not applicable.
Yeah, I think that the non-subtractable thing should be applicable to invisible tasks. Like back office, background tasks, and stuff like that. And I just feel that most of the support on this proposal will eventually be rewarded through the current system. In the opposite as the things that are done in the executive branch. But yeah, I mean, I also understand what you're considering a precedent there.
Yeah, I think that like a lot of the work Colin does though too is also a bit invisible. But anyway, that's. I guess I don't have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I guess I want to jump in here and say that this work is very. I'd say it's very critical. Colin is one of our few devs here, and he plays just a very critical role in onboarding other developers and getting them familiar with the code base. He's very knowledgeable about all the bits and pieces, and I think this is an important proposal. But that being said, I do think that I don't want to get too messy with like some projects are outside of the quarterly rewards and others are inside of the quarterly rewards. It starts setting kind of weird, I see the reason for something like the executive branch being outside of the project system, because it's kind of like a central coordinator and foundation for all of the other projects, and it does sort of kind of like set the stage for a lot of the projects, which could be argued that hey, a lot of the work here is happening kind of as laying the foundation for the projects. And if we feel like that this project is kind of like setting a foundation for all of the other projects and is very critical and core, then maybe it should be rolled into something like the executive branch, or some of these tasks should be rolled into the executive branch. But yeah, I could see it either way. The only issue is that we already passed the executive branch budget, so it's kind of reopening a can of worms, or kind of figuring out what else should go in there, and expanding the budget to accommodate for Colin and Colin's work. I mean, when it came to the stewardship stuff, my biggest worry was that hey, I really want to make sure that that Colin is definitely retained for a lot of the work and context that he's built up, and that he should be rewarded for that. So. But just wanted to leave some of my thoughts here. I think in summary, this is super important, but I don't think it should necessarily be outside of the of the project system, I think that we should keep things kind of just standard with all of the projects. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably just take this out then. Yeah, thanks for all the feedback, guys. I appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, besides that one, is there any other concerns or questions on this?
I added a couple multi-sig signers in there, just so that you were.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
I volunteered a few people, but I don't want to just like throw in their names without them knowing. So I put myself down, and then there were 3 others that were needed, and I put in Mitchie, Bollock, and Ryan.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, I guess I did that.
No, yeah.
Okay.
I did it just to fill it out to make sure it's in there, but yeah, it would be good to get the thumbs up from all 3 of y'all.
Yeah, maybe just like highlight your name and put a thumbs up. Yeah, thanks for adding that though.
Also, yeah, I put myself down as a delegate because I saw it was missing. Well, yeah.
Sweet. Yep, that's all I had.
All right. So I put this on the agenda because I wasn't sure if it was ready for vote, but I think it might need just a little bit more feedback, which is the Ryan's core contributor proposal, which definitely it impacts all Rocketeers, and make sure that you read through that because it's a relatively significant change, and I think it's a good one. But yeah, it's good that everyone is aware of those changes and has just make your voice be heard at this stage before it's too late. Yeah. I'll pass it over to you, Ryan. I don't know if it's not ready for vote, right?
Is this on the proposal review yet?
No, it wasn't. Yeah, I got
Oh.
I got mixed up on this one. I thought it was ready, but I don't think it is. But anyways, I do think that people should take the time to review it anyways. So maybe we can keep moving forward and then circle back to it during open floor. So. See him here, so yeah, we can skip him for now. It's an interesting proposal. It's basically to submit for a proposal for a NASA grant that is due on August 7th. So it's quite a sprint. So I asked them to throw something in there real fast. It's a no MVP project, so it just needs to be approved by the astronaut. And I told him, if he gets it in real fast, we can approve it. And he seems really energized by the idea of trying to get this proposal in. And Open Lunar has suggested that they would be able to sponsor it for us, and they're already registered with NASA as an entity. And it's also something that we've been thinking a lot about in our guild. So even just starting to fill out that proposal, I think will help flesh out a lot of our ideas. But yeah, I'd recommend people read it. I believe it's a no MVP project, so yeah, it doesn't need to be voted on or anything. But yeah, just get that people are aware of it.
It would be pretty cool to have him presenting it at the Senate anyway. Just to listen to him talking about it, and see his engagement with all of the Rocketeers' responsibilities.
Yeah, I think that he It's not his fault actually that he can't be here. He told me that he's actually at a funeral right now. Yeah, so I'm remembering now.
That's
That's why.
morbid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I'm
makes
sorry. So I'll catch up with him again. Maybe he can present a little bit next week. But yeah, it will have already been past the submission date. So it was kind of one of those things that
Oh, yeah.
he needed to just get through. So, but yeah. So I guess we'll keep moving on then, since he's not here. And the next thing on the agenda was the IAC 2023 proposal for Justin, but we're also missing him here. I think, yeah, he might not have understood that he was supposed to be in this call.
Yeah, I think the proposal isn't ready yet. The last time I checked, it still needed some things to be adjusted. The project template and delegates, signers, other stuff. So I also see a lot of comments there to be addressed. So I think I think he's purposely letting this out for next week. But yeah, I don't.
Okay, well then we've made it to the open floor. That was kind of a speed run there. So I believe, we still have Rod on this call, so we can discuss a little bit more about the quadratic funding, and then I think we should also discuss the core ops proposal too. I'll hand it over to you, Rod.
Yeah, thanks. So, regarding the quadratic funding, unfortunately, it started to happen a bit too fast. Like starting from the last Friday, Manuel kickstarted the discussion if Mondao want to support DSI, and then like it was like, I don't know, like a waterfall. Because initially when we initiated DSI round, we discussed that actually we want to get enough experience to run DSpace rounds, and after working almost a week on the project, it sounds like a great idea. At this point in time, it looks like we have around 7 or 8 DSpace projects that are signed to participate as a grantee. However, it basically means that a lot of them would support all of the other activities, including fundraising. We really want to run that round as soon as it possible, ideally at the same time as Gitcoin. As Gitcoin round from August 15 to August 29. I know that it's a hassle. However, I believe that it's possible to find at least 10K for the project, and once we have 10K for the project, it's would be a decent amount of money to run the round. And I really want to do that as soon as it's possible, because if we do it in the next couple of weeks, it'll open an opportunity for the project to be eligible for a lot of other quadratic funding activities. I'm talking right now. I'm having in mind the next November Gitcoin round, and most probably on that round there will be a sub round dedicated to Web3 communities. So if we run the round right now and get decent results, like basically any results, then we'll be able to apply for that round. And overall, once we have that round, it will open us a lot of opportunities. Right now I have in mind a couple of projects that support public goods, and with the results in our hand, it'll be much easier to raise funds from those projects. Particularly, I'm talking about ENS. They have they support a lot of public goods. Same with Optimism. most probably will be able to jump in to give us quadratic funding. IPFS, Filecoin, with time, I think we will get their attention and they will support us. And many more. I think if I'll think carefully, there'll be around 10 sources of funding for the initiative, including Gitcoin itself and including actually other sponsors of the round. And with Manuel and Paul, we are working hard on that. So, and at this point in time, it's a bit not clear how we should push it. Definitely, everyone in the D space knows that we are doing it based on the Moondao, but for the wider audience, unfortunately, we cannot say that Moondao is a significant player in the round unless it passes Senate voting, which well, which is okay, but we just have to run it maybe without Mondao, because in a week, like if in the next couple of weeks, we will be pushing that. So I encourage everyone to take a look at the application, leave your comments, and if you have an idea who could support the round with promotion, sponsorship, or operations, please let us know. And one more thing that I'd like to touch is the way how retroactive rewards are done. I mean, we had a discussion yesterday that actually, if people run in the DSpace framework, we designed this space framework to make it sustainable, meaning that stewards of the round, basically people who contribute doing stuff, they would be paid through the system by creating a project, among others, like stewardship around. The goal of that is to provide people, is to make it sustainable, allowing people who contributed to get paid to because everyone needs to be paid. So just one point, and I'm almost finished. So from that perspective, it's really interesting what is the right way to deal with the retroactive rewards from Mondao in case the project passes. From my perspective, because it's a retroactive reward, it will be up to Mondao community to assess if stewards, people who push it, are reliable, should be rewarded from Mondao or not. Personally, I don't care about retroactive rewards. I think it's just an interesting case. And for me, it looks like retroactive rewards has to be there, because we cannot predict how much we'll get rewarded, and community always can decide not to reward at all. That's all from my side. Happy to ask on questions, discuss, and if someone wants to actively participate, please let me know. We have a group on Telegram to coordinate. I will add you to that group. However, please do that only if you really want to contribute.
I think that there is an interesting conversation, that this project brings up. There is the difference between creating and having a Moondao project, and having a project where Moondao, plays a part of a sponsor. I personally think it's much more interesting, to have Moondao as a partner instead of a sponsor. And I kind of disagree with you, when you talked about how Moondao is positioned on, on the DSpace ecosystem. We are kind of a reference for most DAOs that are being created, on this space. And even people on, in real life stuff, about, when they talk about Web3 and space, Moondao is the first name that comes to mind. So I'm not sure if we are in such a bad position in terms of reputation. And I also feel that the results from the DeSci round, where Moondao participated, would be enough to apply for those other grants that you mentioned. I don't see the need of a specific round conducted to achieve those opportunities. I just think that we need projects to run those grants and to try to reach them. But anyway, I personally think that it's really interesting to run a round, organized by Moondao. But I mean, it's when I say organized by Moondao instead of Moondao being just a sponsor. It's, for me personally, it's a big difference, and I think it's the main thing that I defend when I'm talking about projects that kind of are in between, funding versus sponsorship. But I think could be really interesting.
I just want to add one comment about being liable for different rounds. I was talking about being liable not as a Moondao, but as a DSpace quadratic funding. I'm talking about the initiative. So once the first round of DSpace QF would run, the organization itself, independent of Moondao, would be liable to apply for other grants, and it will make it easier for the organization to talk to public goods supporters. So at this point in time, my main concern is that, sorry, not concern, but my main point is that the proposed framework, in theory, could be done by everyone, not even by me, Manuel, or any of us here, but by any person in the world, including guys from DSpace who are not members of the Moondao. So from a certain perspective, there is no need for Moondao in the process, and I think it's great. And from that perspective, that's just my thoughts. That things are quite complicated. But my main point is that the train will go with or without Moondao. And I'm not talking about myself, Manuel, and this particular project. I'm talking about the overall things with the quadratic funding. Right now, there is, from my perspective, it's not a question if space exploration would be funded by quadratic funding or so. Right now, I think the question, who will do it first and when it will be done? And it's much more than Moondao, than this proposal. It's overall about the industry and things where region space moves. That's my feeling.
Thank you, Rod. I also want to I want to highlight one or two things, because Rod is totally right.
I've been trying to talk for a little while, Manuel. Can I jump in?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Manuel. No, I kind of want to echo a little bit of what Lucas said, which is that, what's this sort of rush right now to do it, now and not wait a week? Because I really resonate with what Lucas is saying, is that, hey, there's, we are the, a prominent now in the space ecosystem, and we're going to be potentially prominently funding this this round of quadratic funding. And so why not have this be really operated by Moondao instead of having this be operated by like a separate entity that Moondao plays a part in, where when the majority of the people operating this anyways have been here and are Moondao members. So it seems like as though, when it's convenient in this case, that you guys are just going to go off and do it and then have Moondao sponsor it, rather than having this be something that we all participate and operate and work together on. So Lucas's comment really resonated with me here, because I feel pretty similarly. I don't understand why this is being framed as though Moondao is sponsoring what you guys are doing, when we've been, coming to these meetings for months and working together and collaborating for months. and it could really be an opportunity for all of us to create something together, and not be sponsors, but really be co-creators and co-producers of.
Two
Can,
things.
can I please
So
answer this, Rod? Can I
yeah,
please answer this?
yeah,
So
sure.
I can tell you why. I can tell you why, guys. So this whole DSpace ecosystem is much more important than single parts in our system, right? So we are not only looking to do this with you, with us, to put Moondao credibility up there. But to fund DSpace activities is much more important than the decisions that we make here. So what Rod and I are looking for is really also a sustainable way to get this through, because we do not want to be vulnerable for decisions made in one single DAO, but instead have like an independent way to do this. So that's also mainly the ethos behind like everything related to funding public goods, so that we have not only also different revenue and income streams that directly flow back to the ecosystem, but also have this continuity in place where we can actually start building on top of that. So it's really about not making a huge profit for Moondao, but it's actually to fund the whole ecosystem, and which Moondao is also a part of. And actually, I mean, all the space DAOs that I'm in touch with actually do not want to be like us. I mean, they do not want to have so much overhead. They do not want to have the history as we have. So I would not say that we are the standard for our ecosystem. I mean, we did great stuff, and we can be really proud about that. Also about the bad things and the good things that happened in the past, but I would not say that this should be the standard for everyone who will also come into our ecosystem to build his own ventures out. So in a nutshell, we do this for the ecosystem. So we are just figuring out how to do this in the most independent way. In the long run, I mean, we already planned this out for in the last DeSci round. So in the best case, we started with it like, don't know, maybe 4 months ago or so. But now we're in this situation. It's also totally fine. But it's really about just doing this now in a small prototype round, where we can say there's at least a proof of concept, where we can also attract more funders, more participants, more mentors into the ecosystem. We are looking for a goal between 10K and 25K, so that we can create this first proof of concept. And then we will probably build on top of that. But again, we have a lot of opportunities. It's just the question, okay, what's in your interest? What's in the interest of the ecosystem? And where are the bottlenecks? So I'm totally down to do this, because you know what, we have this on our plate for too long now. So I'm just excited about that. I don't have bad feelings, or I worry a lot. I'm very optimistic about the future of our ecosystem, and also when it comes to attracting new funding, so that we have a lot of players also supporting all of us, because we're all in here together, right? We're not alone anymore. That's a good story. But we have a lot of people who want to build space DAOs, and who want to create good, who want to fund space scientists and great initiatives. And I would say, just because supporting space research and science is on our original roadmap, I would say from day one, especially in this stage of Moondao, for me, it's just a no-brainer to do the DSpace round. But you're free to decide on your own.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm to speak candidly and honestly, there is some aspect of this that feels kind of like almost like a vampire attack, where we put 25K into the original DeSci grants round, And as a result, I think that you and Rod were able to build a ton of relationships in the ecosystem with a bunch of other DSpace projects. We've also funded you, Manuel, to go to 2 conferences for Moondao and develop a ton of relationships with a lot of these DAOs. And then the major confusion for me has always been, I know that you guys are in contact with a lot of these other partners, but I don't see them onboarded into our community and coming into our community. So this is a major confusion for me. And then now it's like, okay, well, we're going to create this kind of separate thing, and Moondao can sponsor it. It's not that Moondao is operating it and partnering. It's that Moondao can sponsor it, and we're going to move forward with it independently. So this to me doesn't feel right. So it's just my own 2 cents here.
I can tell you why, and I can also, please, Rod, please
may
let me answer, please.
Okay, then my turn.
Because it's just two things. This was, by the way, the reason why I said let's identify the real bottlenecks within Moondao. So, from my perspective, it's not the responsibility of one single project to handle the whole onboarding for Moondao. I think you just forgot the context in which we were back then. When we had the DeSci round up and running, that we had a guild system that did not work out. We had distributed responsibilities that did not work out. We had no clear guidance in which direction every single role is heading towards. So right now we are definitely in another situation.
The major issue is that, I looked it up because I was interested in these stats myself. We only had one person in the introduction channel that introduced themselves saying that Gitcoin was where they came from. We had no people that filled out our onboarding form from Gitcoin. And even with the conferences, it has been difficult to get people even knocking on the door. So I've, to some extent, I know that these are other issues that are there. But how would these people even know about these issues if they haven't even knocked on the door and even taken the first step to saying, hello, I've come from Gitcoin, I've heard great things about you guys, and just want to say hello. That seems to me like it should be the first step there.
I mean, our system is just so unsexy.
Manuel, may I respond now? It's my turn. I have a lot of things to respond. So regarding vampire attack, just to clarify, Lonka received much more money from region activities than from Moondao. So it's just, guys, don't forget that there are a lot of sponsors, and Moondao is just one of the many sponsors. Just there are a lot of opportunities. And regarding the way we presented, personally, I really want it to be a Moondao round. However, the Gitcoin round happens right now. Definitely, there were a lot of issues, so we should have started the preparation a long time ago, but the DeSci round results were delayed, and I think because of that, we just forget about it. However, at this point in time, me, Manuel, and there is a guy whose name is Paul, we are down to this project. And we are doing that way because we actually want to do that. And with the current Moondao system, I'm not sure even if from formal perspective, we are good to go with the current proposal. Basically, I'm talking about finding a representative that would represent on a Senate meeting, which is really uncomfortable for me, Manuel, and Paul. And at this point in time, it looks like we have 2 options: either to wait, and we cannot be sure that Moondao, even we propose not to sponsor, but to have it as a project, we cannot be sure that Moondao would approve it. And I'm completely okay with that. We just want to deliver that raise awareness of space exploration and unite all the D-Space projects and moving together to attract more funds, more awareness. So the goal, why the thing why we are doing that in that way, because we just started last Friday, and the round would start in a couple of weeks, even less in around 10 days. So we really want to run it at the same time, and we cannot be sure that Mundao would approve the offer at all. So by waiting right now a week, actually even more than a week, there is a huge chance that Mundao say, okay, guys, we are not interested. And at that point in time, we'll just have to say, okay, guys, we'll go and deliver it. And from that perspective, why to wait that uncertainty when we can just, start delivering?
Yeah, so if there are any more questions, I mean, please, guys, please just approach us, bring them up now. I think we have too much things to do now. And I would say, yeah, if we try to, discuss this form of things, let's do it in the most productive way so that we can move forward, because we just have a limited amount of time and we also need to do our homework and plan ahead. So for us, it's just about doing the right things right now. And because we saw a great momentum, so a great opportunity where we can, do all of these great things, support a lot of projects, to start off, and then also be eligible of partnering up with us. It was just a no-brainer to do this. And to plan accordingly. For sure, we are not expecting you to vote, just yes because Rod and I are saying this. I mean, do your homework as well, map out the positive sides, the negative sides of the proposal, and then find a good decision where you feel comfortable with. And again, I mean, from my perspective, ecosystem building is the right thing to build because in the past we also had, from my perspective, two bottlenecks. So first of all, how we want to hold partners, and then how we want to hold members. And the second thing, it's both related not only to our onboarding flows, but also to the pull of our internal projects. I mean, we are a space-related DAO, so people expect us to support space science and engineering. Everything that Rod and I are doing is, to build open tools, open frameworks where we can enable this. And for sure, Moondao, is one of the leading organizations and DAOs in this space. I mean, should support this from my point of view. But you're free to choose, and this is resulting in some uncertainty for the project team. So we also need to plan ahead and prepare for any case. So that's the reasoning behind why we communicate this in this way. So to give you a better understanding. But again, if you have questions, I mean, bring them up now or post them in ideation. Rod and I, we are more than open to answer all of your questions in time.
And just the last thing that I want to add, frankly speaking, I didn't want to make the proposal to Mundao at all due to the attitude, but Manuel insists that it's important to make for Mundao. So for now, it looks like our internal processes are much more complicated than just to apply for grants with this project, and it'll take much more efforts with potentially much bigger funding impact. So from practical perspective, frankly speaking, I believe that in a short term, I mean, in terms of raising money for this particular round, for the first round, it'll be much more efficient right now not to focus on the all Moldova bureaucracy, but just to go straight into the fields and start talking to people, asking for the money. So definitely there is also a huge overhead at Moldova, but that's just my thoughts.
Okay, guys, if there are no more questions, I think we are good to wave it through to the next topic if you want to bring something up. Okay, thank you for listening in. It's already like 3 a.m. here for me, guys. I think it's already late for you, Rod, but stay strong, man. who, who wants to close it up? Pablo, Michi, Colin, Ryan.
Sorry, I guess it would be good to go through the core contributor proposal that
No, that we lost him. Oh, man.
Ryan, did you want to go through the core contributor proposal or keep that on the agenda for next week? Yeah, we can hear you now. I left a little bit of feedback on it earlier today, just a bit before the meeting here. But honestly, I think it's really good. I mean, it solves a lot of the same challenges as well. It solves for a lot of the same challenges that the old stewardship proposal solves for, and the one thing I think though is that it, like stewardship, well, with the stewardship projects we had, one of the things it suffered from was just a lack of like central leadership and thereby a lack of accountability. And I think that that might be something that this proposal could fall prey to as well. It might be good if there is some type of lead figure who basically guides and more or less just holds people accountable to doing work. Because I think if we give people money and say do something, there's a chance like that might work for some people, but there's other people who it might not work for. They need someone to really be on their ass about it, I think. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's probably like a considerable amount of work. Like it should I can see how it could be the astronauts' responsibility to ensure it's done, but through the executive branch, where it's probably likely going to be someone else who actually, does the work, follows up, like does writes the reports on the people, and just generally make sure things are on the ball. But anyway, yeah, I think it's a good direction.
Hmm. I think that the main problem, I like the idea, of proposing something that will retain people around, and yeah, and have people more incentivized. Um, I think that the main problem for me, at least, is the fixed amount, for everyone. I feel that this amount should be, variable, maybe based on how much the person. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that changed. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I would really like to see, something, uh, yeah, based on a percentage of how much that person, earns on the previous quarter. And yeah, there could be some sort of percentage of that as a bonus or something like that. But yeah, anyway, I also feel that. Um, yeah, I don't know. The proposal was updated from the last time I checked, and I really need to, yeah, take a deeper look there. But last time I checked, it was the first 8 contributors, and I think that 8, thinking as a bonus and as a prize thing, um, I don't know, 8 feels too much. I would like to see something like, I don't know, 5 or 3, but with a threshold. Let's say, hey, if you made less than 6K in the last coordinate, then and you are one of the top 3 there, then you receive this bonus or something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas in the wind, but I'll take a deeper look and leave comments.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot more since Ryan proposed it, and I really think it's a brilliant framework. I think it incentivizes people to kind of collaboratively compete and try to get into those positions. And yeah, I'm definitely pro a gradient for like one to X or however many top people we decide. But yeah, I think it's a really great idea. The more I think about it, the more I like it. I think we've been trying to figure out ways to kind of let trusted people move forward without a lot of overhead and bureaucracy to just like create their projects. And once they prove themselves to some degree, that we take away some of these blockers that we have from maybe more of the outside world, where people we don't know whether or not to trust them yet. And I think that this solves for a lot of that. So yeah, I really like it. I hope that we can get this up for vote next week.
I like the continuation of the Rocketeer role into the next quarter, or not so that it's not just like dropped immediately at the end of the quarter. Because yeah, that was one thing I noticed, is that the time that I could have been spending like thinking about what I'm going to be doing next, I was spending writing proposals. And obviously, yeah, we see a big drop off right at the end and the begin, like right at the beginning of a new quarter, which isn't good either. And it just doesn't feel, it feels like you don't we're not giving people any room to breathe, and this gives them a little bit of buffer and security to, and the incentive to keep participating.
Yeah, for me, actually, this is another thing that I don't like. No, I really don't. I think it's I get what Mitch is saying, that hey, it gives a little of extra buffer to people to participate in governance, but I feel that the Senate and the Rocketeer role should really be project focused, project oriented. So hey, if you're leading a project, then you're in the Senate. If you're not leading a project, then you are a core contributor, but you're not in the Senate. It's a different thing, Um, and I also feel that maintaining that distinction adds more value to people that are creating projects, even if it's a zero MVP project, for example. That could be combined with yeah. Anyway, with components. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I'm just trying to, think out the scenarios, because I feel that the symptom of our Senate being cut in half, basically, um, it's related more with the system and a bunch of other things, and it's kind of independent. It's more related to having less projects being presented, last quarter, than having more or less core people. But I understand what you're saying. That there is an extra incentive to be around. I just feel that it could be in some sort of way not a full incentive. It should not be that easy, to get a vote in the Senate. I'm also trying to think on how exploitable this become, because hey, one quarter I go to a top tier, and then the next quarter I'm not really that active, but I could get a lot of people, into the Senate because they were really active in the last quarter, and then I could potentially manipulate things that go through snapshots. But yeah, I mean, just sharing what's in my mind. But anyway, I also feel that the concern of having, only a handful of people in the Senate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Also, I think another thing that helps a lot with this, proposal flow as a whole, and would would definitely help with the Senate numbers. Could be to have stricter deadlines for the final reports, because in practice we are basically running a lot to deliver the final reports until the last possible moment, and we end up without time to build new proposals. So maybe we could bring the deadline a little bit earlier in the last month of the quarter, and try to keep things rolling. So in the beginning of the next quarter, we don't have that much of a drop, or even having kind of a slow transition, where hey, you're not a Rocketeer anymore, you're a Voyager, but you can stay in the Senate for more, I don't know, 2 weeks after the end of the quarter. Maybe that could be a solution to this symptom of having just a handful of people. Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge issue.
In general, I think that
Yeah, and
I mentioned this a little bit with the stewardship proposal when we were talking about it. Is that we are dealing with a relatively complex system, and this happens in any sort of code base over time. You add more code and more rules and more laws and regulations, and things start becoming more and more complex, and you see a lot of unintended consequences. So I think to some degree, we we should very critically look at the current project system and see what complications can we remove potentially, and especially with the executive branch proposal coming in now and seeing what that looks like in practice, I think that there might be some new variables at play there too. I mean, all of this is to say basically that it's going to be very difficult to anticipate all of the second order effects of any one change. So yeah, I mean, we should try to give it our best shot, but try to refine as we go. And I'd be open to running this as an experiment, for quarters, seeing how it plays out, seeing how it runs, and just go just playing around with it basically. But yeah, I do think that things will change a little bit with the executive branch proposal, and we don't really know how that is going to affect the overall system yet. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of brain dumping some thoughts here, but I also want to say too that we're done with the original agenda. So if people do need to get running or anything like that, don't feel obligated to stay for this part of the meeting. Yeah, I don't want you guys to feel like you have to stay super long. But yeah.
One thing that I'd like to add is that for certain projects, it makes no rational incentive for people to fill out reports. I mean, I don't know how it's on your side, but for me, one of the hardest part of the whole activities that we had was filling reports. And with respect to the reward that some people receive from projects, it's often just overheads to write down reports are much bigger than the reward. So from practical perspective, sometimes it makes sense just to deliver and focus on other things that would pay and compensate for that delivery.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you both. I think the final reports are really, really important. I mean, the compensation that you're receiving, theoretically, if you're having an MVP, the final report should be included, when you're calculating that MVP. because you already got paid, of course, but you got paid also to deliver that final report. It's not only for, it's the only way to keep accountability with the DAO.
Uh,
And
just
I only, met a lot of cool projects and cool things that people did because the final reports are available and I could dig in and find out what's going on at Moondao. It's a really important step. Of course, we could get better at formatting it in a way that doesn't bring a month basically of overhead, and it's easy to communicate and people actually read it at full length. So I agree that we don't need 10 pages reports, but I do think that it's important to hold accountability, even if it's there's no retroactive reward that you're associated with it in some examples. But I don't know. I feel that
guys,
the less MVP we have, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
also I
also
want.
feel that if
Sorry,
we are
guys. Let me.
feeling like, hey, I'm not receiving anything, it's probably because the MVP is too high, or um or the rationale behind the structure is not well framed with the current system. But anyway, that's another talk.
I
There are a
also
lot
want
of
to add, guys. Can you hear
cans to
me?
open.
Yeah, I just want to add that personally, I was referring not to MVP projects because with the MVP, definitely like you signed to deliver everything and you already get paid for it. I'm talking about mostly about retroactive cases because sometimes you just you deliver, but because of the limited budget and all the other projects that were at the same time, you just already can assess amount of money that you will receive. And from practical perspective, in certain cases, instead of filling the report, it's rational just to go and to other places and spend the time instead of reporting basically on getting money. So I
yeah.
was referring to that case.
I want to throw out too, by the way, that one of the, or at least I consider one of the principal responsibilities of the executive branch will be to increase automation, and I don't just mean in terms of like governance, but also in terms of like for making those final reports easier for people to fill out and simpler. Because I really think that, I mean, they're super important. Like Lucas was saying, they provide a window for other people outside of the DAO to see what's going on and understand what's going on. And yeah, but ultimately, I feel the same frustration. I hate paperwork; it kills my soul. And we want to only create paperwork that is absolutely necessary, and basically simplify the process. And I think right now the final report format is a little bit unnecessarily long. So a simplification there would be great. But I do think that we are kind of maybe getting a little bit off topic, which the original topic was the new framework for core members. And yeah, I think honestly my high level thought on that is, let's give it a shot. Let's experiment with it. Let's give it our best shot, trying to think of all of the corner cases here and ways that could go wrong. I do generally kind of lean towards Lucas, where he's saying that the Rocketeer role, it does seem very intrinsically linked to having a project. But I could see some solution where we do maybe have like a decay function on the Rocketeer role, where we have like a 1 month grace period after the end of the quarter, and people can create their next proposal in that grace period if they'd like to, and then after that 1 month, then the role is officially sunsetted or something like that. But yeah. Um, well, I'm still saying that we should do the top 5 or top 8 or whatever get incentivized into the next quarter for sure. But yeah, that like 1 month grace period, I mean, that is like optional. Like if you don't want to create a new proposal, and or if you're done, and you don't want to show up to the meetings, then we can just remove the you know the title immediately. Yeah, yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, I think I was about to bring it over to that Rocketeer Oath. I think that, even though it is just a verbal agreement, it's a nice, like, psychological reminder that yes, you are signing up for these responsibilities. And even some people might not even realize that they're signing. Then we've had that problem before where they don't even know that they're supposed to be here in the Senate and all of that. So yeah, I think it's good to have that reminder, and then also just we are working in a pretty trustless environment. If someone just stops showing up, which has happened before, there isn't so much of a recourse there. If they disappear, they disappear. So our word actually does mean a lot in this context, and I think giving your word is a I think it means a lot to some people. It definitely means a lot to me, and I think there's something really important and special about that. There's a reason why U.S. members of office swear an oath to the Constitution. There's a reason why it's just kind of something that people have done for thousands of years, and I think it's a powerful statement. So I actually think that even though it is just a sentence that or paragraph that people say, it will have a pretty significant impact. Um,
I'm also thinking about making a moon settler oath that focuses more on basically commitment to learning, because obviously there's a lot of learning that goes into eventually becoming a Rocketeer and coming to just understand, the way we work and things we do. And so, yeah, I was thinking that would be a good kind of focus for that. And then it wouldn't catch people off guard having to do a Rocketeer oath. I think I cut someone off though. Sorry.
yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
Okay.
all good.
Yeah.
I also want to say too that I think sometimes we create rules, and then some people might not know the rules, and that's sort of like a meta effect of new rules. But then they over time become more and more ingrained in the organization, and they take on a different sort of like a second order effect where people realize, for example, that, oh, hey, it's the end of the quarter and we're going to be short on Rocketeers, so we should start kind of thinking about our next proposals for next quarter. There's some of that happens, I think, over time where people, start to self-correct around some of the rules that exist. But yeah, that being said, I like I said, I really think we should just try this out and see how it goes. Run it for the next quarter. So I guess yeah, we can have that as a carrot for all the Rocketeers, all the current Rocketeers to do a great job, and then have that be a game that we play basically to get some of that those rewards. Yeah. That being said, probably. Well, yeah. I imagine that people in the executive branch should be excluded from that. But I'm curious what you guys think about something like that too. Um, would it feel weird to have, say, for example, like me as the astronaut who is already receiving payment through the executive branch to also receive a payment as like a follow-on Rocketeer? I don't really think that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. In my perspective, it doesn't make sense. I feel that this kind of continuation cycle and retaining cycle should not apply for the executive branch. Also considering that the executive branch has different tools, to deal with this, like the flexi budget and other stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think it's something totally different. I also feel that one of the current problems that we have is the size of the treasury. I mean, I know that our treasury is not, empty, but for the kind of stuff that we're trying to achieve, it's not a huge treasury. And this kind of resonates a lot with voters most of the time, and it turns out it becomes really difficult to pass on proposals where you have a minimum MVP that can at least maintain people, at least pay for bills and stuff like that. So I also feel that the fact that the Senate is emptier is a direct symptom of that shift that we made in the beginning of the year, to be more self-conscious about the treasury, and to be more also trying to be more constructivist instead of extractivist.
Yeah, I do think that there's some
yeah
of that is a feature rather than a bug, which is that the payment for the Senate scales with the size of the Treasury. So there's definitely an incentive for everyone to conserve the Treasury. And I think it's good that we're starting to look at growth as an incentive for the executive branch. And I'm interested even in extending that incentive over to the Senate as well, and saying that the Senate can participate in those rewards for Treasury growth, because I think that produces an alignment between basically the whole DAO, the Senate, the executive branch, and all of the holders have a shared incentive to want to increase the Treasury, which in theory, projects. And this is, I think, maybe more of a cultural shift that we need to start really embedding into people, is that projects are really intended to be like a seed, to grow like an independent an independent team that can create revenue that is symbiotic with the larger Moondao ecosystem. So that, you know, if we fund a group to do something, then you know, Moondao and that group can participate in whatever's created there. And that was something that we added in projects before, and I don't think that we've really made use of that. It seems like most of the projects that we get are very internally focused, which I think is normal for the early stages of a DAO. But I think that as we build out a lot of the core framework and we kind of gain stability and we stop adding rules and we sort of get a just a very simple and straightforward core going, then we can really start focusing on these external growth opportunities. Yeah.
Let me add my 2 cents. Project V4 has, from my perspective, has an internal contradiction. On one side, all the projects must be done in an open source Creative Commons manner. And I'm totally down for that. I really believe in open source. I'm using mostly open source software. However, there is a catch with the open source software. If you provided, for example, as a result, open source software, everyone can fork it. And according to projects V4, if a team find a way to make revenue, it has to split it. But what stops the team from practical perspective? Just to make a fork. And that's the contradiction that is really hard to address with the existing system. It just makes no sense to make external projects. We've made with the manual, we've made external projects. We try to onboard a lot of people. However, it just makes no sense because there are not enough incentive to go into all that nitty-gritty detail, like how, where it should be split, etc., etc., etc. And with open source, it makes just, you know, deliver and focus on the next step.
Well, actually, I'm not sure if I agree. There are a lot of businesses in the traditional world that they maintain open source repos and they actually turn a profit as well. There's more of a moat than just the technology itself. There's a lot of other moats that people gain that like there are many examples of profitable businesses that run open source. But anyways, I do think that we are getting a little bit off of track of the original topic, and I am getting a little tired here. I do see Justin has his hand up, so I don't know if he's
sorry. Just last thing I'd like to add. Sorry, I'm really sorry for jumping in, Pablo. I definitely understand totally with you. However, with the existing system, it de-incentivize contributors who created it to continue development, while it set no obligation on the users of the software. I mean, for example, if I created a software for Moondao, I have an obligation to share the revenue. But if Manuel forks, he has no such an obligation. A solution to that would be to create a custom license that everyone has to share, but it won't work. And that's a huge contradiction internal from my perspective.
Well, I think ultimately, you know, as we build more of a network inside of Moondao and an audience, that is going to ultimately be the mode that we create, where because Moondao owns the distribution, then people will want to build stuff for Moondao that we share with our community, and they will want to use the legitimate version of that instead of maybe a derivative version outside of the Moondao community, because one outside of the community doesn't participate in the network effects that we have. So for example, I'll give an example, like the marketplace. Yeah, the marketplace code is forkable, it's open source, anyone can do whatever they want with it. But the difference is that this is the Moondao marketplace. And as we cultivate an audience, as we cultivate people that come back to Moondao, and they know that Moondao is a place where you can list things, you can participate in these sort of these products that we have. Anyone else can sell zero-G tickets, but do they do it with the community that we have, with the context that we have, the relationships that we have? Those are things that are not forkable. So I understand your point,
Yep.
Rod, but I think that there's something deeper here at play, which is that there's the distribution side that Moondao is positioning itself with, and that this is
Yeah.
why it's so difficult to emulate what Moondao does for some of these other organizations that have tried, that have come out and kind of created kind of derivative versions of what we have. Is because it's very difficult to. I mean, you can emulate the branding, you can emulate the same sort of prizes, etc. But it's very difficult to emulate the community and relationships.
Definitely. I just my point was right now Moondao free riding on the open source marketplace contracts, and it's completely okay. It's open source, so it's not a big issue. I just want to say that to deliver a lot of things, we have to create basic technology, like underlying technology. In case of marketplace, it'll be all the smart contracts and so on. Someone has created that for us. And with the current system, there is no incentive to create such a things. And from that perspective, everyone who uses open source solution and not pays back kind of provide a vampire attack from a certain perspective. I definitely want to say that it's not the case because open source is different. But if we come to open source with that approach, we just have to keep in mind that a lot of things was written by someone. They didn't receive contribution. We are just free riding on their results. And current system is designed to not to provide such a value, such a basic value, like creating smart contracts. That's my point.
Yeah, I'm a big believer of
I don't think that it's so black and white like that, Rod. Because say for example, someone creates an open source software, and then the accounts receivable for that software is a split contract in which the owners that created that receive some amount. In fact, we did that with the marketplace. So for example, on every transaction inside of the marketplace, some amount of Mooney is burnt, and then some of it goes into a split contract for the original creators of those marketplace contracts, which, yes, a lot of them were grabbed from other open source repos, but there was real engineering work that went into creating those specialized contracts for our community. But that has a split contract where on every transaction, the team that built that receives some amount of the money for it. So they actually are incentivized not only to create that technology, but also to maintain it because it's a passive flow of income for them. So I think that a lot of those assumptions need to be rethought, especially with like if Moondao makes one set of you can see this for example with Juicebox. Juicebox, anyone can fork the Juicebox contracts. And the way that Juicebox maintains itself is by taking some small fee on the money that is collected. But what does Juicebox own? Well, it has the distribution, and it has the branding, and it has the relationships that it's built, it has legitimacy that it's built. And other people can fork the underlying technology, but they don't have that legitimacy. So I think that there is a strong case to be made for how open source software can survive within this context, and people are incentivized to build it. So, for example, say with Lunco, right? If Moondao brands a virtual environment, right, that allows people to design collaboratively a settlement inside of a lunar atmosphere, and we make that open source, yes, other people can fork the underlying technology, but they won't be collaborating with the Moondao community. So, they're kind of just playing with themselves. Similar to if someone were to fork all the Juicebox contracts, yeah, they can fork it, but why does anyone have an incentive to go there when the network effects drive them over to the original Juicebox site? So, I think that, there are a lot of examples out there, and it's just as evident as to say that yes, they're there, and yes, it moves, and yes, it works.
Just a few notes. With the Juicebox, they also has a nice thing that they actually issue tokens for all the fees that received, which is really great. And the second point is that if Moondao shares a part of the fees with the original creators of the smart contracts that are used for marketplace, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, definitely, and that's actually how things are supposed to work with each of the projects. Is that people should create a split contract for the work that they create. We just have very few people writing smart contracts in our community. But anyways, it's getting a little late. I think we should probably close up here. But I do want to give the floor to Justin, because he jumped up here. How's it going, Justin?
Yeah, can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Hello? Okay, very good. I looked at everybody's feedback, tried to respond to everybody's feedback. I don't know if you guys think it's ready to be voted on by the Senate tonight, or if we got to wait another week, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, we were waiting for you. We thought you'd be here at this meeting. But
Okay, yeah, sorry, I had a conflict. But yeah, I wanted to jump on, and I'm sorry I missed the discussion. I saw that somebody posted a link in the general channel. I guess this is being recorded, and I can go back and watch it. That's good as well. I feel like it's a good step. But yeah, basically, I think it's ready. The proposal should be good to go. It's got everything in there structured to the way previous conference proposals were structured, updated it for the project's version 4. Everything's pretty straightforward. We went to the same conference last year. IAC just keeps getting bigger and better. Actually, I don't know if it's going to be bigger this year because it's in Baku, but it's a really important conference for the space industry at large, and just having representation at that conference is super important. So I don't know if anybody had feedback on the proposal, or if you guys feel like it's ready.
There was a little bit of feedback. I think that there's a couple things missing, and I tagged you in the thread there in the IAC submission. It was just a couple small things, but I do think they're important to have cleared up. Is it okay if this waits for next week? I think.
No, that's fine. I'll address whatever, and then hopefully I can be on the call the entirety next time. I tried jumping on the end here. I saw that I was at the end of the meeting. Maybe next week we can bump it up to the beginning of the Senate meeting or something, hopefully.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, awesome.
All right, great. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. I think we should close this up. Everyone for joining. All right, bye y'all.